For the first time yesterday, I started getting everybody who watches me on twitch.tv/Scottejaye87, come give me a follow, ready for the pre-patch. And the way we're getting ready for the pre-patch is we're actually testing 3.3.5 states of all classes and all specs in full Phase 5 TBC BIS gear and seeing what sort of damage they do, self-buffed only and under all the same conditions. So these conditions are no consumables, fully gemmed and fully enchanted, hitting the level 70 dummy that has 6,792 armor, doing it a few times with various setups. For example, as a warrior, we tried glaives with Impel, we tried glaives with Deep Fury, we tried dual Apollons, we tried Apollons and Cataclysm Edge, and the warrior results will be coming soon. I just wanted to start with Feral because you guys know I absolutely love Feral, and I've been saying for a long time now, the pre-patch, whilst it's going to be fun for a lot of classes, it's not going to be fun for us. And the testing actually proved that. So we have gone on our Feral DPS full BIS Phase 5 gear. Obviously, we will not be using Wolf's Head Helm because everything changes in the pre-patch where Wolf's Head Helm is absolutely pointless because RIP power shifting. The reason I've said we're going to struggle in the pre-patch is because our spec is built around getting 30% extra damage or 33% extra damage from keeping Savage Roar up. It's quite literally the staple ability in our arsenal that needs 100% uptime to maintain the sort of damage that we're expecting to be able to do in Wrath of the Lich King. The sad news is in the pre-patch we don't have it, and we don't get it until we're actually leveling in Northrend. Also, to go on top of that, no, we don't even get any cleave, because Kitty Cleave also does not come until later levels. So what you've actually ended up with when it comes to Feral in the pre-patch is a real bad spec to play, because you've got two decisions to make, and we tried both of these. We tried both specs that I like. I'll put both the specs on the screen and we'll just talk about them. So the first spec is getting Berserk. Now, on the basis we do know what some of the other classes are doing, I've already done Rep Paladin, and like I say, I've done multiple variations of the Warrior, and the Feral is extremely low compared to those. We do know some classes scale better with raid buffs than others, and at the moment, all of these tests are just being run purely self-buffed. But with a spec like this, we've got Berserk, so we have got that burst, but we haven't got the sustain because we're losing out on physical damage from the Resto tree, and we've not got Omen of Clarity for our clear casting procs. And because we can't force energy anymore by power shifting, we are waiting for energy to naturally regenerate, which means there'll be extended periods of time where Tiger's Fury is on cooldown, because if you didn't know, you're going to get this talent where Tiger's Fury gives you energy back, but without Omen of Clarity padding the amount of abilities that you can use at a time, it just felt wrong. Now, what felt better was actually going for Omen of Clarity, but the problem is we can't get Omen of Clarity and the talent that causes Rip to be able to critically strike. So we need 2 extra points to be able to get everything that we need. We're having to sacrifice Omen of Clarity to get Berserk, but we're also having to sacrifice Omen of Clarity so we can get our Rip to crit. Now, with high amounts of armor pen, what I went in expecting was using Omen of Clarity instead of getting the Rip and Berserk talents, was all we'd do is use Ferocious Bite. Keeping Mangle up is obviously easy because of how long it lasts on the bosses now, or on the mobs in general. I was keeping Rake up, and then it was just shredding to 5 combo points and using Ferocious Bite. The output was pretty bad. So looking at the amount of damage that Rake done, I decided to leave Rake out completely and just go full on, keeping Mangle up and only using Shred and Ferocious Bite. The damage didn't change, like barely at all. So with this being my idea of what I expected to be the better performing spec, I respec'd and went for a more traditional approach of maintaining as close to 100% uptime on Rip and Rake, whilst keeping Mangle up, whilst using Tiger's Fury on cooldown, and obviously using Shred as the combo builder. Again, the damage barely changed. It don't seem to make very much difference at all between using a Rip orientated build where you are getting Berserk, or using Omen of Clarity and just going for pure Ferocious Bite damage. The problem here is the thing where this is going to change is raid buffs, having things like Expose Armor or Sunder Armor, whatever, on the boss to bring the armor down even more so, you know, you are going to do more damage. Yeah, we know raid buffs are going to make a difference, but we needed to just do this all completely self-buffed, otherwise it's going to get too complicated. I've been saying numerous times on stream that I'm going to be going Boomy just for the pre-patch. I will be going back to Feral. Well, hopefully we get dual spec in the pre-patch. That'll be nice. But in limited testing I've been doing with Boomy, which I will be doing a video about, of course, I've been doing double the damage of Feral. In full Phase 5 BIS as a Boomy, I can hold on the dummy, single target with no starfall whatsoever, 3 to 3.5k DPS. And yes, That's even more than glaived warriors or dual Apollon warriors by a long way. This isn't about Boomy, but trust me, it's ridiculous. Although mana, definitely an issue. Whilst it's very difficult for me to be able to test tanking abilities, I would say if you're a die-hard Feral Druid like myself, who's definitely not willing to go Boomy, which I definitely am, so I'm not that die-hard, then tanking might be the right thing to do during the pre-patch, because you probably will be a little bit deflated about the damage they're going to put out. I'm sure fully raid buffed, you'll be able to do reasonable damage, but if you're expecting in the pre-patch to be able to top meters or keep up with everybody else, you're really gonna struggle. There's a couple of things that we've not spoke about, which we'll cover now briefly before we close. The likelihood of getting inscription in the pre-patch is extremely high, but unfortunately, depending on what spec you go for Feral DPS, the glyphs are very limited. If you're gonna go for the deep Feral build where you're gonna take Berserk and you're gonna take Primal Gore, then of course you're gonna be keeping Rip Up as close to 100% of the time as possible, in which case Glyph of Shred is going to be very, very useful because it's going to extend the amount of time that Rip's up for. And in the same vein, of course, you're going to use Glyph of Rip, which again is going to further increase the amount of time it's up for. So between Rip being applied and falling off, you should be able to even squeeze in a Ferocious Bite. If you're going to go for the Omen of Clarity spec, there really is very little in terms of glyphs that you're going to need, because you're going to be primarily using your 5 combo points on Ferocious Bite. So Mangle could be an option to increase the damage done by Mangle, even though you're not going to be using it very often. And quite honestly, outside of that, there is nothing. So to get maximum benefit in the pre-patch, using a high uptime Rip build is going to be essential, because you are at least going to gain benefit from the glyphs, where if you go for Omen of Clarity Light, I really wish I could, none of the glyphs are going to add any real benefit whatsoever. So I think the takeaway from this video should be, yes, you're going to go deep Feral, you're going to keep Mangle up, you're going to keep Rake up, you're going to keep Rip up, you will be using Glyph of Shred and Glyph of Rip, and hopefully you're getting lots of crits with your Shred, so you do get some Ferocious Bites up in between. But overall, Ferals, really sorry. It pains me to say it as somebody who obviously absolutely loves playing Feral DPS. Don't look like we're going to have a very good time. And I said we're probably not going to have a very good time right from the start, to the point where Boomy is just going to be almost a no-brainer, especially if you intend on trying to do some really good damage, or, you know, do any serious raiding during the pre-patch, which you're probably not going to do serious raiding. It's going to be more for fun. But what more fun way of playing WoW than topping damage meters, and you're not going to do it as Feral. And again, all it comes down to is not being able to get the 33% extra damage from Savage Roar on all of your abilities. It's a big loss. But anyway, if you found this useful, like and subscribe. If you want to see all of the classes and all of the specs covered on what to expect in the pre-patch, definitely subscribe, because they're all coming soon. Roll the outro. There's lots of ways you can support the channel to keep me here putting out World of Warcraft content and covering all future MMOs. Consider joining the channel as a member. You get access to emotes. Everyone will know you're a member when you comment on future videos, because you get a nice icon next to your name. And you get access to members-only videos, which I'll be putting a lot of on the channel throughout the year. Additionally, there's a Patreon link in the description as well. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, and I'll see you on the next one.